Good morning, children. Today we are going to discuss the remaining part of chapter 2 of civics, that is the federalism. Division of powers between the central and state government is done in a threefold distribution way. There are three lists: union list, state list and concurrent list, which includes the powers to be shared between the central government and the state government. First, union list. It includes subject of national importance. The central government alone can make a decision on these matters such as defense of a nation, foreign affairs, banking, currency and communications. The aim of including these matters in union list is to ensure uniformity in the policy of these areas throughout the country. Second, state list. It includes matters of state level importance. The state government alone can make a decision on these areas. They include matters such as police, trade, agriculture, commerce and irrigation. Third, concurrent list. It includes those subjects which are of common interest to both the central as well as state government. It includes matters such as education, forest, marriage and trade unions. Both the state and central government can make decisions on these matters. Residuary subject. Any subject which do not fall in any of the above three lists are treated as residuary subject. According to our constitution, only the union government has got the powers to legislate on such subjects. Features of Indian Federation. India is a holding to the federation, where all the states have not identical powers. Article 370 of the Indian Constitution gives special status to Jammu and Kashmir, a state of India located in the northern part of Indian subcontinent and a part of larger region of Kashmir, which has been the subject of disputes between India, Pakistan and China. After the government of India revealed the special status accorded to Jammu and Kashmir under Article 370 of the Indian Constitution in 2019. The Parliament of India passed the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act, which contained provisions that dissolved the state and reorganized it into two union territories, Jammu and Kashmir in the west and the Ladakh in the east, with the effect from 31 October 2019. There are some states in the Indian Union which enjoy very little powers. They are called union territories. These states are too small to become independent states, but because of this special importance, they cannot be merged with the other states. The central government has got the special powers to run these states. Sharing of powers between the center and the state is another important feature of the Indian federalism. But it is not so easy to make changes in the power sharing arrangement. The Parliament alone cannot make any decision relating to the power sharing arrangement. Any proposed change has to be first approved by both the houses of the Parliament, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, with at least 2/3 of the majority. Then the proposed change has to be approved by the legislature of at least half of the total state. In a federalism, judiciary plays an important role, especially when there is any disputes between the central and the state or between the different states themselves. In India too, the judiciary plays an important role in ensuring the implementation of various laws and procedures. The Supreme Court of India has the exclusive authority of settling disputes between the government of India and one or more states or between two or more states. The High Court stands at the head of the state judicial administration. How is federalism practiced? Federalism in India is practiced by the creation of linguistic state, language policy, and central-state relation. First, linguistic states. The first and the major test for democratic politics in our country was the creation of linguistic states. In 1947, the boundaries of the old state were changed in order to create new state. This was done to ensure that people who spoke the same language lived in the same states. Some of them were not only created on the basis of language, but to recognize differences based on culture, ethnicity, or geography. For example, Nagaland, Uttarakhand, and Jharkhand. Second, language policy. Framing of language policies was another test for Indian Federation. Our constitution did not give the status of national language to any one language. Hindi was identified as the official language, but Hindi is mother tongue of only about 40% of Indians. Therefore, there were many safeguards to protect other languages. Besides Hindi, there are 21 other languages recognized as scheduled languages by the Constitution. Third, center-state relation. Restructuring the center-state relation is one more way in which federalism has been strengthened in practice. Since 1990, coalition government were at the center. No single party held a clear majority in the Lok Sabha. The major national parties had to enter into an alliance with many parties, including several regional parties, to form a government at the center. This led to a new culture of power sharing at the center. All these tests show that in India, power sharing is more effective today than it was in the early years after the Constitution came into force. Decentralization in India. When power is taken away from the central and state government and given to local government, it is called decentralization. India is a big country. There exists a lot of linguistic, geographical, and regional diversities. In such a situation, it becomes difficult to run the government efficiently. Hence, the union and the state governments are not sufficient because these two tiers alone cannot deal with all the problems and issues, especially at the local level. Thus, need for power sharing within the state was recognized, which resulted in a third tier of government known as local government. The basic ideas became decentralization. First, there are large number of problems and issues which are best settled at the local level. Second, people have better knowledge of problems in their localities. Third, people have better ideas on where to spend money and how to manage things more efficiently. Fourth, at the local level, it is possible for the people to directly participate in decision making. Fifth, this helps to inculcate a habit of democratic participation. The need for decentralization was recognized in our constitution. Since then, there have been several attempts to decentralize power to the level of villages and towns, panchayat in villages, and municipalities in urban areas were set up in all the states, but these were directly under the control of state government. Before 1992, the local bodies were directly under the state governments. Regular elections were not held regularly and the local bodies did not have any resources or powers of their own. After 1992, the constitution was amended to make the third tier of democracy more powerful and effective. The steps taken are: first, it was constitutionally mandatory to hold regular election to local government bodies. Second, seats were reserved for the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes. Third, At least 1/3 of all positions are reserved for women. 4. An independent institution called the State Election Commission has been created in each state. 5th, the state government are required to share some powers and revenue with the local government bodies. What is rural local government? In order to decentralize power and to make the policies available to the people of even remote areas, government has introduced a three-tier system of local governing bodies in the rural areas. It consists of Gram Panchayat, Block Samiti and Zilla Parishad. First, Gram Panchayat. The Gram Panchayat is the first tier in the Panchayati Raj system. It is constituted for one village or group of villages. It is a decision-making body for the entire village. This is a council consisting of several ward members called panch and a president or sarpanch. They are directly elected by all the adult population living in that ward or village by secret ballot system. Second, Panchayat Samiti or Block Samiti. The intermediate tier in the Panchayati Raj system is known as the Panchayat Samiti or Block Samiti. It is constituted for 2 or more Grama Panchayat at the block level. The members of this representatives body are elected by all the Panchayat members in that area. The elected head of the Samiti is known as President, Chairman or Pradhan. Third, Zilla Parishad. This is the top tier of Panchayati Raj constituted at the district level by the Panchayat Samitis or Mandals. Most members of the Zilla Parishad are elected. It comprises following categories of members: President of Panchayati Samitis, local MPs, MLAs and MLCs, persons representing women and scheduled caste and tribes. Zilla Parishad chairperson is the political head of the Zilla Parishad. In rural areas, the Panchayati Raj institution, Panchayats, Block Samitis and Zilla Parishad serve and help the people. The same work is done in urban areas by municipalities and municipal corporation. Both municipalities and municipal corporations are controlled by elected bodies consisting of people's representatives. Municipal chairperson is the political head of the municipality. In a municipal corporation, such an officer is called the mayor. The new system of local government is the largest experiment in democracy conducted anywhere in the world. Constitutional status for local government has helped to defend the democracy in our country. At the same time, there are many difficulties. In most states, election to panchayats are irregular and uncertain, leading to monopoly of the previously elected powers. Also, illiteracy and poverty of the people lead to less enthusiasm about the Panchayati Raj system. A lot of money is needed for the developmental activities and the source of income are limited. This leads to ill functioning of the Panchayat system. Now answer the following question in your classwork copy.